Hey, you think I'd look good in this one?
Sure.
Not quite the ringing endorsement, but hey, I'll take it.
I was wrong about the Silent Hill 2 remake. I think the remake is better. I think the remake is better than the original Silent Hill 2.
Not bloody likely!
We're living in a time where games are being remade left and right, regardless of how old the original game may be or if a remake is even warranted. Yet so many people get excited by the mere thought of a game getting a remake, and it's not just from people who may experience these games for the first time, but also from those who have experienced the original game, even some that have already experienced it several times already. Silent Hill 2 is the next victim of modern day remakes and recency bias from a culture of remake apologists. Whether it's shady journalists or access media shills, the praises mostly consist of talking points printed right out of Konami's headquarters. Except this time, there are no studio cronies looming over reviewers begging for a mandatory requirement to equip James with a chicken hat. Leading up to this modernized remake of Silent Hill 2, we saw Bloober Team make several changes due to fan feedback, since almost every trailer they've put out has shown their lack of understanding of how to properly remake a beloved classic, from James's face to the lack of fog. It seemed like Bloober Team was trying to figure things out as they went along, which should not be the case. After all, considering they've stated themselves that they are huge fans of Silent Hill 2, yet they needed the real fans to point out their fuck-ups before the game released. If Bloober Team's failure to understand the assignment wasn't bad enough, they decided to bring on board a consulting firm by the name of Hit Detection. They are similar to Sweet Baby Inc. If you read carefully what they attempt to do when involved with projects, it becomes obvious what they are all about. But if you needed more proof that Hit Detection are not to be trusted, their firm consists of former employees from EA, Blizzard, IGN, GameSpot, Eurogamer, Polygon, and G4. One of the consultants at Hit Detection, by the name of Jacob Geller, worked on Silent Hill 2 Remake, and he has several posts on X where he seems to not be so fond of gamers. One post being where he believes the world will be a better place without gamers. So as per usual, the developers have activist weirdos involved in games. Things get even worse. This bastardization of a remake has censorship and made characters such as Maria and Angela look horrid, and no amount of damage control will not make it true. At certain angles, Maria looks like Act-Man wearing a wig, and Angela looks like Fox Mulder from the X-Files. There's a scene where Maria unlocks the door to the Heaven's Night strip club and James just watches her open the door. While in the original Silent Hill 2, Maria unlocks the door but bends over to do so, while James leans over to look at her ass. This is an example of the censorship and neutering Bloober Team applied for the modern audience. Another example of the censorship is Maria's clothing. Compared to her original outfit, you know, the one that was used to mock the original and taunt fans, similar to how Dante in the Devil May Cry reboot mocked original Dante's hair. In the Silent Hill 2 remake, she's more covered up, which doesn't make sense considering what she was supposed to represent. The music sounds inferior, and the combat looks janky, especially considering this is supposed to be a AAA game in 2024. Although, I'm sure the apologists will claim that the jank is deliberate to better match the original Silent Hill 2, even though In the original game, James wasn't able to dodge out of the way of incoming attacks, which is funny because I remember a lot of people shitting on Silent Hill Homecoming for having a similar approach to combat that people are now praising in the Silent Hill 2 remake. You gotta love remake culture. I think the combat being janky has to do with Bloober Team not knowing how to properly implement real-time combat in their games, since all they've made up until this point has been walking simulators. And I think some people are praising the combat and controls due to the fact that Bloober Team managed to make a game that required more than walking in a straight line for once. One of the great things about the Silent Hill series is the atmosphere. Not only was the fog a crucial part in setting the tone for the nightmarish world of Silent Hill, but the fixed camera perspective added so much to it. And I think the Silent Hill 2 remake could have benefited from using fixed cameras instead of going for the safe third-person perspective. Instead, Bloober Team set out to make Resident Evil 2 Remake on Wish. And well, seeing how mediocre the Silent Hill 2 remake is, it's more like Resident Evil 3 Remake on Wish, with this remake having about as much stuttering in the PC version as Joe Biden trying to read off of a teleprompter. And I know recency bias is running rampant, so I'm sure many will claim the Silent Hill 2 remake is amazing or a masterpiece, not far off from the same bird brain buffoons that claim the incomplete Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth are amazing masterpieces that are better than the original Final Fantasy VII. The original Final Fantasy VII that is actually one complete game and isn't polluted with Kingdom Hearts fanfiction-esque bullshit. The fog in the Silent Hill 2 remake lacks the dreamy vibe from the original. It can be seen in gameplay videos and in cutscenes. The same can be said about the dialogue for the most part. The eerie ambiance is absent in favor of cookie-cutter performances seen in other AAA commercialized slop. Not much of a surprise, there's individuals saying the Silent Hill 2 remake is better than the original. Modern gaming has conditioned people to believe that anything new is automatically superior to anything that came out decades ago. All you need is shiny graphics to get people to hop on board the hype train. Add in a few journalist hacks and access media shills to help confirm a bias. Oddly enough, Konami deleted their posts on social media about Silent Hill 2 being adapted for a modern audience. Thankfully though, the internet doesn't forget, so fuck you Konami. You can fool the simpletons into thinking the Silent Hill 2 remake is a faithful recreation, but the rest of us know that the remake can't hold a candle to the original. Because while the original Silent Hill 2 will always be remembered fondly, the remake will eventually be forgotten, just like the other remake that tried to reach a modern audience. Nothing about the Silent Hill 2 remake looks remotely amazing, nor does it look like it's worth $70. In fact, it looks like a game that can easily be skipped without any fear that you're missing out on anything. You're better off playing the original. I know opinions like that get remake sims butthurt, but it's true. The original game is actually worth playing and should be, in my opinion, most people's introduction into the series. People love gloating about how they have all the current consoles, have a high-end PC, have several game controllers, and buy collector's editions of games, yet some people act as though the original game is inaccessible when in reality, there are so many options available to gamers. You can buy a PlayStation 2 console and original Silent Hill 2 online or at a mom and pop store. Find an original Xbox and play Silent Hill 2 Enhanced Edition, or the Silent Hill HD collection on PS3 or the Xbox 360 version, which is backwards compatible on modern Xbox consoles, also on PC through emulation. There are so many options available to play the original Silent Hill 2, and there is no real pressure or need to consume a modernized remake that falls short compared to the original. Gone are the days of actual great remakes. Take the Resident Evil 1 remake for example, which is the gold standard for remakes in my opinion. Sadly now, we're given cash grab remakes with little to no soul, and the stooges pumping out the slop or dangling nostalgia keys while so many numbskulls cheer and clap their hands like seals, not giving a single fuck about whatever quality these companies turn out. They're just happy to settle for anything because their standards are so low. They accept anything they can get when we shouldn't settle for subpar quality, especially when remaking a classic game that helped define a genre. I understand the remake trend will keep going on, but that won't stop me from sticking with the original games and appreciating what made them great in the first place. Unlike these modern remakes, I don't have to lower my standards and do mental gymnastics to enjoy the original masterpieces made by truly passionate and creative people.